Our next speaker has 20 years of experience helping Fortune 500 brands, nonprofits, and C-suite executives. He was, for a while, Lego Group's head of emerging platforms, and get this, launched Lego Life in over 29 countries to over 5 million users. That's amazing. Then he went on to start a company called Vixen Labs, just completed his first exit, where he served as the CEO and founder to House 337, and now serves as the head of AI and innovation, serving clients like Verizon, Dyson, Universal Music Group, and get this, it is the largest provider of Alexa solutions to Amazon globally. He's now working on his first book called Double Edged. I'm excited to get this. He's a regular contributor to tech and business press, including Business Insider, Retail Week, Tech Round, and The Grocer. Please welcome to the stage, a treat, y'all, JP Poulter.
Good afternoon, everyone. This accent may give some things away, and I apologize for it profusely, but I can't change it. It's been with me ever since I was able to speak. And it comes to you now. I hail from the UK, from London, which means that I woke up very early this morning. The jet lag kicked in. I woke up at 4:04. That was an error. Some of you got there. It's good. There are some jokes in this. I apologize for them in advance. You hear about the guy that recently that lost all of his Ozempic medication? Yeah, huge waste. Okay. This talk is called Double Edged. Let's see which side we come out of. It was about 2008 in the city of Paris that I was getting the opportunity to spend some time with a client I hadn't seen in person, and I was treated for an evening out on the French Riviera on the client's boat. To give you some context, this client, his name was actually Francois. He was about 5'4", and the cross between a kind of pit bull and a rugby prop forward, which I think would probably be an equivalent to a quarterback if you wanted to think about it. Just kind of give you the context. And the accent about as thick as a baguette. And we spent an evening actually out on his personal boat that evening. He took us out onto the river. And we were enjoying this lovely dinner on the boat. These little purple picnic boxes were handed to us, kind of large, slim things, real metal cutlery in them, salt and pepper shakers, the whole 9 yards, and about 12 bottles of Chateau Petrus. It was a wonderful evening. There was about 3 of us. And it was going really well. And Francois, he looked at us and he looked at them and he said, well, shall we go? And I said, yes, let's go. And so the deckhands, they unlashed us from the boat next to us, and he threw the hammer down and we began to cruise out into the night. You know, kind of, it looked not too dissimilar to this. And about 2 seconds into that journey, I knew something was drastically wrong. Because I heard down the left-hand side of the boat, crunching of metal, splintering of wood, and then splashing. And friends, when you're on a boat, there are sounds that really you don't want to be encountering. And what happened was that down the left-hand side of this boat, the deckhands hadn't actually unattached us from the boat that we were connected to, next to us. And you know the metal poles that kind of go around the front of the boat? Well, they were being ripped from the deck of the next door boat and flung into the River Seine. And another short French man in full, kind of Breton regalia emerged from this boat and started shouting what I could only imagine was bloody murder, but in a language that I couldn't pronounce nor recreate for you. And Francois, all he did was he looked at us, and he looked at him, and he said, in the accent that will now get me cancelled, we will deal with it tomorrow. And he threw the hammer down on that boat, and we cruised into the Seine, and I have never found out what happened to that boat since. But one of the things that stuck with me was this phrase, we will deal with it tomorrow. This, friends, I think is how most of the world, if they were really honest with you, is reacting to the technological moment that we live in around artificial intelligence. Because in the past 18 years, about the time that we generally think it takes for us to mature a human from infancy and prepare them to go out into the world, an awful lot has changed, hasn't it? And yet, at the same time, a lot of things are very much the same. Most of these technologies, Bitcoin, Spotify, Facebook, WhatsApp, they actually launched nearly 15 to 18 years ago. And for many of us, you go, hang on a minute, wasn't that just yesterday? And if you wake up in the morning and your bones and muscles feel the same way that mine do when I wake up in the morning, you are suddenly reminded it was longer ago than you would like to admit. Actually, a lot of this stuff has been with us for a lot longer than we like to think. But all of a sudden, this moment has arrived, right? AI everywhere, all at once. Suddenly it smacks us into every piece of technology that we use, every conversation. You can rarely get through a day without someone bringing it up in different contexts, whether it's in work or in the news, in politics. There's a lot of politics in this country, you might have noticed. Like, it comes up, and it's everywhere all of a sudden. Well, what has created this? Well, in the kind of run-up to 2020, there was an awful lot of technologies that had launched. But in 2022, this little one at the bottom, ChatGPT, literally the worst named product to have ever launched with no brand marketing budget whatsoever, came onto the scene, and in 2 months, it reached 100 million people, right? The same amount of time it took TikTok 9 months to do or Instagram 30 months to do. And as of the past couple of weeks, we now know that it's around about 300 million people using tools like ChatGPT, not every month, but every week. And it's embedded into everything we use. Apple Intelligence brings it in, right? Copilot, how many of you are Copilot users, Microsoft Team users? I'm so sorry. But if you are, you'll know that this is kind of showing up there. Even DJs built around Spotify using these AI tools, they're coming to change the way in which we work, the way in which we live, the way in which we consume just about everything. And if you believe some of the apocryphal stories and potentially kind of baseline stock inflating stats from people like this, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the technological guru behind the likes of ChatGPT, they think that we're not far away from a world where maybe just by 2030, just 5 years out from now, that humans will be capable of doing what it used to take them a month to do in under an hour. And I think really what this poses to me on a daily basis as we meet with clients and as I speak to people like you around the world is this fundamental question, which is that, hopefully this means the robots that, they're coming to help. Isn't this great? Right? The nervous laughter would suggest that maybe you feel more like the robots are coming. Help! Like, what are we going to do? It's really good. How do we think about this? Well, I think it's always helpful that when you're kind of puzzling through something that's rather complex, that you rely upon some 1960s social theory. So here we go. This is a quote which I love from "The medium is the massage," or the message. You might have heard that phrase before, from Marshall McLuhan. He talked about this idea in the 60s about that everything that is said is affected by the way it is said, through the medium that it is said, right? You've heard that phrase. Some of you social psychologists in the room have heard that. And one of the other things that he was very famous for was this idea that we use technology to extend ourselves, that we rewire ourselves, if you like. And this is exactly what's happening here, that the electric circuitry that runs through all the things that power the devices that I'm controlling now, that you've got in your pockets that hopefully you're not currently looking at, these devices, they are like the extension of our nervous system, that they run through almost everything that we do, and they're rewiring our brains. And so the brain of 2008 and 2010 has been changed into the brain of 2025, where the social media is completely being revamped. Some of it destroyed, some of it rebirthed in different forms, particularly here. AI ethics and legislation is kind of part of our daily conversations, and the thing that worries me more than anything else is we enter into a new state, a new phase of technology, which is unlike anything that we've ever experienced before. I don't know about you, but a lot of people come to me and say, well, JP, this is fine, isn't it? Like, these are just tools. We need to learn how to use them well. And I think that's true. These are tools. The chairs that you're sitting on right now, they're also tools. They are the work of ergonomics and physics that keeps you off the floor and stops you falling down, right? Because like you sit on it and it's sturdy. But that same chair, if you pick it up and put it on this stage, right, you can pick it up and lift it and whack me over the head with it, and that tool becomes a weapon. And if you pick up that tool and put it on this stage, this chair, and put it over here, and you sit someone on it and call them a king, it makes it a throne. You see, where we place these tools and how we use them and how we manipulate them changes their meaning entirely. And so, for those of you that are worried that, we are entering into some form of matrix, already living within it, the agents are coming. I do this joke sometimes that it doesn't land very well because I realize I've become old in the past 20 years. There are people that you might work with that do not know what this movie is about, and it upsets me deeply. But the agents are coming. That same Sam Altman I mentioned before, he talks about this idea that we are entering into a time where agents will soon become innovators themselves, and those innovators will become organizations, where these different AIs will collaborate with one another and actually replicate the work of entire companies. entire organizations built around artificial intelligence. You can say, well, that sounds awfully like science fiction becoming science fact. And I would say, yeah, it does feel that way. But unfortunately, as with most things, the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed. A couple of weeks ago, OpenAI launched Operator. This is an AI that can control the internet for you. It can launch a browser and execute tasks. And so that means that every website suddenly can be looked at by an AI and controlled by it. We saw last week the emergence of DeepSeek that wiped about 300 million quid off of the, that's dollars, sorry, that's a British reference, off of the stock market, and massively disrupting things like NVIDIA. I pose to you guys as I close that the question that's most central for us when it comes to AI is, where are you? Are you in the loop? Are you on the loop? Or are you out of the loop? Where will the human be when we choose to bring AI into the conversation? Because I think that this is our moment to put on seatbelts. You know that thing that you get when you get on the plane? Make sure you fix your own mask and your own seatbelt before helping the person next to us. We're doing an awful lot of work to regulate governments, to help industries. But what about you? What about us? Friends, this is our Gutenberg moment. The printing presses have been made, the content is being printed, but whether or not you choose to pick up and read it or not, that's in your hands. So I hope that if you would like to engage with the topic of AI, that you will pick it up, you'll read the literature, you'll spend the time, and you'll realize that we live in a once-in-a-generation moment where you know what it was like to live with the robots and without them. Because everyone that comes next, they won't. This is our Gutenberg moment. AI, it's a tool. It could be a weapon. Don't make it a throne. But it's definitely a double-edged sword. Thank you so much.
Move like Jagger, I've got the move like Jagger, I've got the move.